To Kathleen Norton-Schock, who usually gets on every month.
Yep, who makes our job very easy,
It's
always.
it. Yeah, I just sit back and she takes over, so she becomes a co-host. But in this case, normally what she does is talk about all the MCWT events coming up. But now she's going to be introducing the new president of MCWT, Jill, who I can see on my board. Go ahead and unmute there, Jill.
Good. I couldn't see Jill, so
I'm here. Good afternoon. Nice to see you, Mike and Matt and Kathleen. I am here.
Sure.
Okay.
Hey, Jill. Good to see you. So yes, Mike, thank you so much. Happy New Year to you both. I haven't talked to you actually since the end of November. So
has it really been that long? Okay. Yeah. Gosh, time flies.
I am so honored today because, in fact, I was thinking about it today, Jill, that we met, you and I, 18 years ago at a Midwest Technology Leaders Conference when you were still at Cisco. I've always been impressed by Jill for a long time, and she is a long time, besides her very robust career, which I'll talk about in a minute because I know she's too modest to talk about herself. So I will give you a little bit on Jill herself. I remember being struck at the time of meeting you at your very high energy, your charisma, your clear, succinct way of putting a period on concepts. And also, of course, Jill's energy has been devoted to MCWT in a volunteer capacity, along with having a very strong career, right, for almost that same period of time. I would say about 18 years. She has been on our board several times. She headed our partnership group when we absolutely, and she has been I would say the strategist behind a few of our most exciting and most interesting innovations. Last year, she was the vice president of our board, and today, Jill Maiarano, as of the beginning of January, started as the president of MCWT. But again, because she doesn't brag about herself very much, just to give you a background on Jill, she spent the last 4 years at Microsoft running their US healthcare practice, which is a big job if you know what's going on in the healthcare industry, right? Lots of disruption there. And the previous 13 years, she had some very strong leadership positions at a company called Cisco, which we all know, running strategic engagement, as a matter of fact, for Cisco for a few years. She was the regional manager of their public sector. And she was also regional manager for their enterprise solutions when a lot of that was bursting at the seams, when we had a lot of innovation coming out of Cisco. And prior to that, she was in the telecom industry at both Quest and Sprint. And I know, besides having worked with her as a volunteer, I mean, obviously I've been a volunteer for a number of years. The reason I know as much as I do about her career is that she was kind enough to be on the Diva Tech Talk podcast series. As you know, we did 101 podcasts. Well, I did one with Jill about 4.5 years ago. So I know her to be just an amazing person. And we couldn't be happy. I personally couldn't be happier. And I don't think we could be more blessed than to have her running MCWT as the president of the board this year. Also, one more thing, Jill, you probably wouldn't say this, but I will. In 2021, Cranes ran a big promotion, and it was like a contest. I wouldn't even call it that, but a huge promotion of something that they did that year called the 100 Most Influential Women in Michigan. Now, this is just not Michigan Tech. It's all of Michigan's areas, vertical markets and industries. And Jill, as a matter of fact, was named one of those. And I remember we were all very excited at MCWT because a lot of us know her so well from there. And it was a big deal.
That's pretty, yeah, I was going to say, that's pretty special. 500 out of what is it? 100 out of 5 million women in Michigan. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you, Kathleen. And they only do that every 5 years. And I will say to all of my tech friends here listening, there are only 3 women out of 100 that consider themselves in the tech field. And so I told the editors, we've got a lot more amazing tech women in Michigan than you recognize this year. So when it comes around again in 4 years, we got to make sure that more of our tech women in Michigan make that list. So,
and that's an almost perfect segue into what was going to be my first question for you, which is we often talk, I mean, we've talked for years and we talk on the show a lot about the Michigan Council of Women in Technology Foundation's overriding mission, which, as you guys know, is to make Michigan the #1 state for both women and girls in technology. So as I noted, Jill, you're a longtime leader and volunteer, and now our president. Why is that mission so important to you personally and professionally?
Well, you know, as a woman who's been in this industry now 31 years, it's a hard number to say out loud, but it's it's still incredibly male dominated. You know, depending on the statistics you read, it's 24 to 27% of most workforces. When I was at Cisco, I was really involved in the women's ERG there, the largest employee resource group. And, you know, over the 10 years I was really involved, we never really moved the needle. It was still 25, 26% of the workforce. And it continues to be so. And as a mother of a 22-year-old daughter who just started her real career after graduating college this past year, I want the world to be more equal. I want it to be more representational of the actual population. And quite frankly, until we're at 50% female to male in these workforces, we've just got work to do. And so it's simply, and then, you know, when you hear about job shortages and the growth in cyber and the growth in data and analytics and all these workforce shortages, but then you realize that the current workforce is only 25% female, you realize the opportunity to get more women into technical fields, and not all of them even have to be that technical. I don't consider myself a technical leader, but I've been in technology my whole career. So there's just so much opportunity. And here in Michigan, the work that MCWT is doing is simply striving for equality and simply striving to get more girls, more women into these incredible careers. So that's my story.
Let me leap in real quick, Matt. I know at LTU, last I heard, it was at least 50-50, and it might be more women than men now. What's the enrollment like?
We're still at about, because engineering remains such a male-dominated field, you know, especially mechanical engineering, which is our biggest engineering major. We're at about 1/3 women enrollment right now, which is actually a vast improvement from what it was 10 or 20 years ago, but it's still, you know, only 1/3. So we're trying to do everything we can think of to interest more girls in technical careers, because that's mostly what we do here is STEM education. Our two biggest majors are, you know, engineering and architecture. We've been pretty successful in getting women into architecture and design. But that's still particularly a problem for Black women. They're like 6% of the population or 7%, but they're only 0.4% of the nation's architects. That statistic just sticks in my head as something we've really got to work on. You know, obviously we have, what's interesting is that we've added a traditionally female-dominated field in our nursing program, but our nursing program is about 1/3 male, which is 3 times the national average for you know, for nurses being men. So I mean, I agree. You know, Jill, we still got a lot of work to do, and that's one of the reasons we're doing outreach at K-12, both in the Detroit Public Schools, the Southfield Public Schools, a couple of other school districts I can think of, Melvindale, West Bloomfield. You know, we've got something like 50 dual enrollment and early college programs going. And the president here, one of the things we didn't have time to talk to him about today that I wanted to, is he really wants to expand the dual enrollment and early college programs. And that's, you know, a good way to get more women involved.
And, you know, it's just good business too. I
Sure.
mean, the fact is, we have study after study. We've got a library. Part of it sits on my desktop for the last 15 years, right? But it's not just Deloitte, it's not just E&Y, it's not just Accenture. McKinsey has run this longitudinal study since 2012 about diversity among leadership and actually in the population of any organization. And just conservatively, organizations that have women in their technology roles and in their C-level roles are conservatively 26 to 30% more profitable if they are public. In other words, you can measure it, right? And it's even more interesting when you have a diverse population from an ethnic perspective. So it's good business, right? Which is one of the messages that we carry forward, and Jill in particular has carried forward when she was on the partnership side, gaining quite a few partners for us, right? That it's just good business, no matter what size of company you are, to engage and fund any kinds of efforts. And particularly, MCWT is a nonprofit, so we live and die by our funding every year. So Jill, your vision is great. Can you talk to me about the women and girls we've touched to date? We certainly have exploded in terms of membership. And I think every year we touch double our membership in terms of the girls we touch. But when you think about that, we have some great success stories with the girls programs. And in fact, maybe my real question for you would be, so that I can take a step back and you can do most of the talking, is what are your top 5 goals for MCWT for 2023?
Well, we have continued to have an incredible impact, and we have grown membership, and we have grown the number of girls' scholarships, and we delivered 78 programs in calendar 2022 and touched more lives. And, something about COVID got us to go virtual, and then we learned how to do hybrid, and we've been able to do a lot more programs reaching more girls because they weren't all live in Southeast Michigan or in major metro areas per se. But to talk about 2023 and what's ahead, our number one goal in 2023 is to reach more girls. As Matt said, even in these college curriculums, we're up to a third, and what does that mean? And one of our problems is, if you think about the acronym of STEM, when you think about the public high school or middle school curriculum, the T is silent in the Michigan public curriculum. There's science and math every day, mandatory curriculum. There's even engineering, because we're Michigan. There's CAD, there's classes, not always in the rest of the country, but there is engineering to be explored in high school, but there are really no technology classes. So it's really hard for us to find the girls in elementary school, middle school, high school that want to learn about that, because there's no real curriculum. I can't just go to all the students of the T classes and say, hey, we have MCWT out there. So we hired a new program manager, and her full-time job is to find more girls, which takes a lot of hand-to-hand principals, teachers, educators, parents, just going to where these girls might be to try to bring them into our programs and expose them to the potential. So that's number one. Number two is to continue to expand our geographic march. We really started heavy in Southeast Michigan. We've grown significantly in Grand Rapids, thanks to some of our partners there. We've also grown in the Midland Dow, or the Midland Bay City area, thanks to Dow and some partnerships there. But we've got to get to even Lansing, even Ann Arbor, but then you think about the Thumb and Traverse City. And there's just the UP, there's so much more geography that we need to get to. And in some of those markets, they need us even more than the girls in Metro Detroit do, because they have less role models, less curriculum, less options to, partner with other organizations. So our second goal is geographic reach and expanding that. Third is to just continue our amazing partnerships. We have our corporate partners fund all of what we do. So we've got to continue to serve at the hand of the corporate partners that bring in all the money. And then alliances. There's a lot of other similar like-minded organizations out there that have similar memberships and constituents. And so we partner with them. We share our curriculum with them. They share ours with their members, vice versa. And so we just always got to continue to do that. Another thing that I'd like to say to Matt and Mike, as two of our male allies, long-term male allies, is our fourth goal this year is to grow our allyship. It is still an industry that is 75% male dominated, and we are not going to self-solve. We have to have the men in the room. We have to have the men helping the girls, the women. And so we're trying to formalize that. This year at our gala, I probably had 20 men come up to me and say, what can I do? And I need a better answer to that question. You know, it can't just be like, thanks for being here, and write a check. I mean, there's so much that the men can do. And so we're really trying to activate our male allyship. And then lastly, I'm calling it ambassadorship. So, there's thousands of people that are exposed to MCWT's work on a regular basis. But what are each of those people doing to find one more person? Bring one more girl to the program, bring one more young adult woman into our mentorship program. Just if each person that knows about MCWT were to grab one more person, think about what we could do with our impact. And so we're trying to really bring to life our programming and share this kind of information so that, everybody leaves here a bit activated, if you will. So those are our goals for 2023 on top of delivering 78 plus programs and, continuing to fundraise and all the normal stuff that we do. So thank you for asking, Kathleen.
We have a deadline, by the way, this week on one of those programs, which I believe is the college scholarship, the university scholarship, which we've had for a long time. We've given away, I always say it's 1.7 million, but I might be a little bit behind the curve now. It might be a little bit higher, but over a 16-year period, we've done a lot because we had continuing scholarships and other grants that were specifically aimed for partners that then were given to girls. And that closes this week, I believe.
It actually closes tomorrow at midnight. So if anybody's out there listening and you know a girl who is going to go to a Michigan university and study anything that would be defined as technology, there's lots of majors that we qualify as technology. Doesn't include engineering, Matt.
Yeah, get those applications.
Get those applications in. Get those applications in. Again, last year we gave out 43 scholarships. We continue to grow that fund and grow our partners that specifically fund named scholarships, if you will. So yes, that is a urgent deadline. MCWT.org is our website. You can find the scholarship application information on there. So thank you for asking that, Kathleen.
Speaking of alliances,
guys, when you go to the top of the screen, touch the tab that says colleges and universities, because we have a very robust website. So I'm sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you going to say?
Speaking of alliances, the lieutenant governor is, I had him at several of my events. He's very technologically focused. Second, right behind the governor herself. Are you getting any support from the Whitmer administration anyway to help get more?
That's an interesting segue, because later on in my questions, I was going to ask Jill about some of the new initiatives. But Jill, maybe you want to talk about the grant we received?
Well, yeah. So let me start there. So in our K-12 programming, Mike, we received a grant this year from the Michigan Department of Education. For $500,000. And it's the largest grant we've ever received from state funding. And that has to be spent this fiscal year. The state's fiscal year ends in September. So because of that grant, we were able to hire a program manager to find more girls. And we're going from 9 camps this summer to 21.
Wow.
21 camps, which is a huge. And these are summer camps delivered at LTU. Has been a forever sponsor of ours, Mike. Our very first summer camps were always at LTU. I remember when it was just LTU and U of D Mercy, and now we're delivering all over the states using multiple partners for facilities. That's great. And so one of the other things we're going to do this year is, prior to the summer camps, we're going to be doing tech workshops in the schools to try to spin the attendance and get more girls interested. We're doing those in Kalamazoo, Lansing, Western Wayne County, Washtenaw, Benton Harbor, Southwest Detroit, Mount Pleasant, Pontiac, and Northern.
My goodness.
County. So that goes to that geographic expansion. It goes to the finding more girls. And so that $500,000 from MDE was very significant in our ability to grow our girl programming this year. So Mike, thanks for asking about that. And
another potential ally, although it's more generic boys and girls, is Miss Shoemaker, who does the Cyber Patriot program. Tamara.
Well, speaking of cyber, I actually, because you introduced me to her a couple years ago, we did some very innovative cyber programs this year. And as I was helping our longtime marketing director and our marketing person, I don't know what Story's exact title is, but she should be called marketing manager there. as we were getting some of that up, I was moving that over to her so she would see what we were doing. But Jill, you might want to talk about.
Yeah, I actually had the honor last Saturday or Saturday before last of attending a high school cyber challenge finals day. So we ended up.
I'm sure Tamara was there, right? So.
And
Tamara
so
Shoemaker. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had 17 girls, goes to the fact that we need more of them, but we had 17 girls complete like an 8-hour all-day cyber exercises put on by a lot of local cyber experts. Several CISOs were in the room. U of M Dearborn CIO was there, their Dean of College of Engineering. And Immersive Labs is a partner to us in that curriculum. And it was really incredible to see. And so we're doing programming for cyber and girls, but we are also launching a new program for women in cyber. And we already have 61 women signed up. And it's women that are probably already in the workforce, but are looking to grow into cyber because it's such a hot field. And so again, Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Michigan is a lead sponsor on that. Along with WAMSA, which is the Women's Security Alliance, and Immersive Labs. And, you know, it's part of that alliance. We're all coming together for this greater programming. And think about that, 61 professional women and 17 high school girls. How much more could we grow those programs? I mean, it's cyber, there's such a need.
I've got to get my daughter involved in this. My daughter was not a science person or tech person at all in high school. She majored in economics at Michigan State, got a job with an auto supplier, and transferred over into cybersecurity, and that's where she's working now. She basically teaches people not to do silly things online, which is
smart cyber. You can write your ticket. That's what I was telling all these high school girls and their parents last Saturday. Was
absolutely
definitely directed into a hot market.
And speaking of role models, guys, and security, if you remember our last year, we give an award every year for Michigan's woman leader in technology. We've been doing this for 6 or 7 years. And last year we gave it to Julie Speiler, who happens to be one of the co-founders of WAMSA. There were like 25 applications of people, but she stood out in some ways. And it's very interesting because that is something else where we have a deadline coming up, Jill, and that's more
March 3rd. So if you know a woman in technology who you believe deserves the award of Women of the Year, awarded by MCWT, please apply for her. The nomination forms are also on our website. I was on the decision criteria team last year, and I think I read 30 applications. They were all incredible. It was really hard to pick one. We do award everybody that was nominated because it's just a big deal for somebody to take the time to nominate you. It's quite a process. And then one lucky winner will be announced at our major event. We call it Executive Connection Summit. It's one of our largest events. It's May 11th this year in Novi at the Suburban Showplace. And that's when we announce our Woman of the Year event. And we have over 1,000 people attend that event. So it's exciting. So again, if you know any woman that should be nominated for that, you have got until March 3rd. At least that deadline's not as bad as the scholarship deadline being tomorrow.
Right. To segue out of the one kind of programming to the other, one of the things that happened about 10 years ago is we were starting these robust programs for girls, although obviously Jill is talking about dramatic expansion of those, but we weren't doing as much for our members. And we have kind of worked on that over the last decade as well. So besides the Michigan Women in Tech Award, maybe you'd like to talk to us a little bit about some of the leadership stuff we're doing for women who are mid-career.
Yeah, so a few things. First, that Enterprise Connection Summit in Novi is an event for professional women, men. It's very well attended by both. We also always have our golf outings, July 24th in Indianwood and September 18th out in Grand Rapids. We do our annual gala, which is a huge fundraiser. This year it's on docket for November 11th. It'll be at MGM Grand in Detroit again this year. And so those are some of our bigger fundraising events, but we've also launched a lot of incremental professional development programs. We launched a program called Ignite, which is for women earlier in career that are trying to grow into leadership roles. And that was just a fantastic program. I think it was 9 weeks, worked in a cohort, et cetera. We have another program this year that we're very proud that Flagstar Foundation has decided to lean into and fund. It's called Reignite. And it's about bringing women back into the workforce. Throughout COVID, a lot of people left the workforce, women at a much higher rate than men. And so we're trying to have this program to bring them back. It'll be a first time we've ever done this program. It'll be launching in April. So if you know any women out of work that are looking to come back, this Reignite program funded by Flagstar is very exciting. So, and then I had already mentioned the Women in Cyber program, which is also a new program that we've launched.
Great.
I think part of the reason that a lot of the women dropped out was because they couldn't get childcare, if I recall, from all the stories that I read. And so, what's your choice? You leave your child at home or go to work, right? So, but it's nice that hopefully the pandemic is behind us, so things can get back to normal again.
Well, and this will be delivered. This will also be delivered hybrid. So right. We're excited about it. We've got an army working on the curriculum, and it'll be launched in early April. So
fantastic. And Mike, just one other thing though, even pre-pandemic, we had, and hopefully we can help turn this around, not just in Michigan, but nationally and globally, a higher dropout rate of women. Women drop out of technology roles. And is it a combination of microaggressions? Is it not seeing enough of yourself? So Jill was mentioning, she called them fundraising events, and they are. I mean, Ignite's a fundraising event, right? I mean, the leadership conference is a fundraising event. The golf is a fundraising event. The gala is a fundraising event. They're also amazing opportunities for networking, right? Sure. So sure. More people, women of all ages, can see more people that they would like to aspire to be. Or just learn from those casual conversations.
We had such success with doing one in Troy, this Ignite program. Anita, who is the CIO of Little Caesars, which includes all of the Little Caesars brands, a top executive at Meijer, and then another top woman, you guys know Nicole Scheffler, she's been a longtime friend.
Oh yeah.
They were both, those three ran this leadership clinic, and it went so well, they've all agreed to do it in Grand Rapids and make it a day and a half instead of just a day. And there are lead presenters, which is just incredible for these women to be exposed to that kind of leadership and experience. So we're repeating that again in March, but over in Grand Rapids with a different cohort of women.
Yeah, I know Nicole well. For a younger woman, she has a treasure trove of experience.
Yes, she does.
She's at Palo Alto Networks now, and actually she's flying back because she doesn't live in Michigan any longer, but her heart is here with us.
Oh, really? I didn't know she moved. She out in California then, or where is she?
She's in Texas, where she grew up.
Oh, even better.
Back toward her dad and her stepmom, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with the girls. So Jill, this is, again, we have so much that we could talk about, but we have about, I think, 2 or 3 more minutes.
Yep, that's right.
If you were going to say, I mean, you told us why, a bit of your why you're so dedicated to this mission. But is there anything else, or a final message above and beyond everything you said to date, that you'd like to leave with the audience? Obviously, we're going to give everybody our website address, as we always do, but are there other things, other personal reasons why you are so enthused and so committed to this, and have been for so many years, and now leading, in this leadership role?
Well, this is a huge part of my give back. It's a huge part of making the world a better place going forward than it was when I started my career, and also just helping women find one of the best industries in the world to work in. I mean, the financial gains and the financial freedom that comes from working in a technology career. And we're changing generations. We're changing family trajectories by helping some of these women, discover technology, thrive in it, go to college when they might not have been able to go to college, get a, well-paying job that is high demand. When you hear every major event we do, even some of the more minor events, we have a scholarship recipient tell their story. And those are my favorite segments ever. You know, I mean, it's just incredible to hear these 18 to 22-year-olds talk about the life-changing moments that happen to get them into tech and keep them in tech. And every scholarship recipient that we have also gets a mentor from our board or our advisory board. So not only do we give them money, we give them a person that helps them and coaches them and, you know, sends them gift basket at finals and, you know, calls them to check in with them and, you know, tells them don't drop out. We know computer science is really hard, you know, but it's worth it. And, you know, and so, and we use our network for these very young women to stay in tech and stay committed to the hard work that it takes sometimes. So, you know, my final message is simply do something. It's a bit of a pay it forward. It's a bit of an activate message, but, you know, to anybody that listens to this and hears this, you know, somebody that MCWT can help. Point them in our direction, you know, let us, you know, find another girl in your kid's school. Let's, you know, find a girl in your neighborhood, find a, you know, a niece. I mean, you know, we have programs, you know, through the entire life cycle from kindergarten to retirement, you know, just help connect more people, because the more lives that we impact, the greater we're going to be on our mission of making Michigan the #1 state for women and girls in technology. And that's my final message.
Okay, I couldn't think of a better one. Thanks very much to both Kathleen.